Outrage over Benue attacks as Defense Chief vows to take battle to terrorists, pushes community self-protection. State Speaker orders release of detained protesters. And Katsina government warns repentant bandits against violating peace agreement. We're glad to have you join News Now on TV360 Nigeria. I am Joy Uchejem. Now, amid a resurgence of violence in Benue State, Nigeria's Chief of Defense Staff General Christopher Musa and the Inspector General of Police Kayode Egbetokun have promised to further take the battle to the terrorists. Speaking during an on-the-spot assessment of the troubled communities of Benue that have been under attacks by gunmen, Musa said the attackers possibly had informants, while also alleging the presence of saboteurs within the Nigerian military. While pushing for community self-protection, Musa assured the military would double its efforts at ending the killings in the state and parts of the country. Speaking further, the Inspector General of Police Kayode Egbetokun promised the people of Benue of increased deployment of men to tackle the rising insecurity in the state.
We're tired of innocent souls being killed, and we're here to ensure that we address such. From now, I'll be going to see my commanders, and we have to change our strategy. We want to look inward and see how we can address it. But like we mentioned, we cannot do it alone without the community, without the state. We need everybody to be part of it. We understand that even before now, we used to have, even within us, people that compromise and give information. Because going around, you see the way some of the burnings were made, they were targeted, and which means they had insiders. And so I've discussed with the communities, the traditional rulers, with the clergy, for us to work united. There have been some issues on trust, and that we're going to address. For us, like I said, we want this to be the last one that will happen. We're going to go all out to ensure that we address it. We are putting measures in other places, and it has worked. Here is not going to be different.
This attack on the peaceful Yelewata community is one attack too many. It is not just an attack on the people of Benue State. It's an attack on the entire nation. And we are not going to accept it. The people of this community are not alone. We are with them. The entire Nigerian communities are with them. A day will come when these bandits will come to operate as they used to, and they will never return. That day is drawing nearer. I can assure you that we are committed to fight this battle and win this war. My appeal to the community is to cooperate with us. They know their environment more than anyone else.
On his part, Benue State Governor Hyacinth Alia, while briefing the CDS and the IGP on the attacks, lamented the extent of the carnage. He, however, expressed confidence that the visit would bring relief to the troubled areas and restore peace.
This is a killings uncalled for. Whatever thing it is, it's quite unfortunate that this kind of a carnage, this kind of killings, persists. The presence of the Chief of Staff, Chief of Defense Staff, and the IGP mean quite much to me, and definitely the people as well. As the community elders and the traditional rulers were given a positive nod for their very prompt response, I know we remain very hopeful that this kind of a devastating occurrence would not happen, not only within the local government but around the state. We've gained their own assurances of the support. Already we now have an increased presence of different teams and squads. And that is going to create a huge difference. They've been to the sites, we've all been there, we've seen how inhuman it is. Each person is touched. It remains our prayer and resolve that this kind of a touchdown never happens any place.
Now let's get reactions to the statements made by the Chief of Defense Staff, General Christopher Musa, during his visit to Benue State. Retired Captain Yahaya Umar joins me to discuss further. Thank you for joining us, sir. Now, we've seen a growing push for community self-protection in response to the ongoing violence in Benue, first from Tesia Ugbo of Kwande Federal Constituency, and now the Chief of Defense Staff suggesting the creation of some sort of community self-defense like vigilantes. And we have actually seen this work elsewhere. But Governor Aliyah has publicly distanced himself from this approach. What is your take on this?
Good evening. How are you? Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, sir.
You know, the security challenges in Central and Nigeria as a whole is a very serious issue. Unfortunately, most of the root cause of this insecurity was not investigated. You understand? And under committee of inquiry was not being set by the state government. What is the motive behind the crisis? And coming to the issue of self-defense by the community, it's not totally self-defense, but it's going to be like community policing, where the community have to put their own local security measures to identify intruders, criminals, and other people with some negative motive, especially these visitors, strangers who are coming to infiltrate and cause mayhem against the people. So it's a good idea. It's happening in the country. If you go to America today, they have community guard, community security that is assisting the federal agency or the state agency. It's a collaboration. They're going to be like a, early warning mechanism that will feed the government on the need to respond immediately. It's like a proactive measure. We're talking about operation and intelligence sharing. Know what is happening in all the locations. Look at our landmarks. Security agency can never be everywhere because of the way we sit down. You see 10 people, 5 people, 50 people, they will just sit down and form a village. You understand? So how many will you for barracks? It's not easy. For this part of engagement, this will be a arrangement. Both the traditional rulers, and leaders are part of it. So it's going to be inclusive.
Efforts are critical to addressing these attacks. Retired Captain Yahaya Umar, thank you for sharing your thoughts with us. Meanwhile, the Speaker of the Benue State House of Assembly, Audona Dajo, has ordered the immediate release of all youths arrested during the recent protests across the state. The directive was issued on Tuesday during an emergency plenary session convened in response to mounting public criticism over the detention of citizens who participated in demonstrations against the ongoing insecurity in parts of the state. Speaking on the floor of the Assembly, Dajo reaffirmed the legislature's commitment to democratic principles and the constitutional rights of all Benue citizens. And the Katsina state government has warned bandits who recently surrendered their arms to keep to the peace agreement or face serious consequences. The state's Commissioner for Internal Security and Home Affairs, Nasir Muazu, who revealed this while speaking with newsmen on Monday, said the government will not tolerate any breach of trust from those who promise to stop violence. Muazu added that the state's governor, Diko Rada, has made security a top priority and is taking strong actions. And now to legislative matters. The Nigerian Senate will on Wednesday, June 17th, screen the chairman, managing director, and other members of the board of the Southwest Development Commission. Speaking at its inaugural meeting on Tuesday, Chairman of the Senate Committee on the Commission, Senator Yunus Akintunde, said they continually provide adequate oversight to enable the Commission to deliver on its mandate. Senator Akintunde told other members of the committee to brace up for work ahead, adding that all opinions will count in the developmental initiatives of the Commission.
Our vision is to provide adequate oversight functions for the good governance of the Commission to harness the vast potentials of the Southwest region, promoting economic growth, social justice, and human capacity development. We will work to address the infrastructure deficit, enhance regional cohesion, and foster business-friendly environment through robust legislative activities. Let us remember that great things are not achieved in isolation. They are born out of unity, determination, and shared vision. I believe we have the right people, the right purpose, and the right momentum.
And as Nigeria continues to grapple with widespread human rights violations, ranging from armed conflict and sexual violence to mass displacement caused by natural disasters, the National Human Rights Commission has released its May 2025 Human Rights Dashboard, capturing key trends and complaints nationwide. While the Commission recorded over 275,000 cases last month alone, human rights lawyers in Nigeria believe the figures merely hint at a far more profound crisis beneath the surface, calling for a total overhaul of Nigeria's justice system to restore public trust and accountability. TV360's Victoria Konde has details in this next report.
Despite existing laws, security institutions and a judicial system, countless Nigerians still face rights violations with limited access to justice or protection. The 275,256 complaints recorded by the NHRC span insurgency in the Northeast, gender-based violence in urban and rural communities, and mass displacements triggered by natural disasters like the recent flooding in Niger State. According to the report, over 40,000 people were displaced in the first quarter of the year, with 1,460 complaints filed by asylum seekers, returnees and refugees, signaling a crisis of protection across the board. The NHRC describes the figures as deeply disturbing and reflective of systemic failure.
The icing of the cake in the dashboard for this month has been the fact that the figures of the number of complaints that have been treated across the states, which also will encourage the states to do more.
Even though the number of deaths by violence decreased slightly from the month of April, we still had 370 people who were killed. These are avoidable deaths, deaths that should not have occurred.
But some human rights advocates argue that the situation might even be worse. They say many violations go unreported as fear and hopelessness deter citizens from seeking justice. In their opinion, victims often believe redress is unattainable due to years of institutional neglect and non-responsiveness from government authorities.
Human rights violation in Nigeria is more far in number than what the Human Rights Commission is quoting. I'm aware because the violation of human rights in Nigeria has become so bad that nobody wants to know what is happening. And Even the government is not taking it serious.
There is no justice in this country as of today. No justice, because even our courts today are not even giving justice. Our courts today, there is a level of compromise in the judicial system today. That will tell you that is why the Nigerians today have lost hope in the system, in the judicial process.
In instances of displacement, experts argue that the state's response has fallen short, accusing government agencies of politicizing humanitarian crisis and at times even contributing to the violations themselves.
The government is not doing enough. In fact, I won't say they are not doing enough. For me, they're not even doing anything. Because, you see, unfortunately, everything has been politicized in Nigeria. What the responsibility of the government, what they're supposed to be doing, they're now using it to play politics. It's so unfortunate.
As part of solutions, the experts say real reform must begin with leadership to grassroots institutions. They call for a total overhaul of Nigeria's justice system and unbiased law enforcement to restore citizens' trust in public institutions.
Do you know how many court judgments in this country against the government, against government agencies that government has not been able to obey? So many of them. That is part of what we're saying.
We must have people being held accountable for their actions. When people are not held accountable for their actions, you cannot address human rights violations. One of the problems we are continuing to have is people get away with their actions, especially when they are victims.
While the NHRC's efforts in monitoring and documenting violations are commendable, experts say the real challenge lies in translating data into action and demonstrating the will to uphold the rights and dignity of every Nigerian. Victoria Akonde, TV360 News, Lagos.
It's time for a short break. Still to come on News Now. Black boxes from India plane crash under study to ascertain the cause of the disaster that killed 270. We'll bring you details of this story after this break. Welcome back. Let's briefly take you through our top stories. Now, amid the resurgence of violence in Benue State, Nigeria's Chief of Defense Staff General Christopher Musa and the Inspector General of Police Kayode Egbetukun have promised to further take the battle to the terrorists. While pushing for community self-protection, the defense chief assured the military will double its efforts at ending the killings in the state and parts of the country. We also told you that Speaker of the Benue State House of Assembly, Aundona Dajo, has ordered the immediate release of all youths arrested during recent protests across the state. Speaking during an emergency plenary session convened in response to mounting public criticism, Dajo reaffirmed the legislature's commitment to democratic principles and the constitutional rights of all Benue citizens. And in case you missed any of our news bulletins or for more updates, you can catch us on Limex World TV and ABO TV, or log on to our website on www.tv360nigeria.com. You can also follow us on our social media platforms on X, formerly Twitter, Instagram and YouTube at TV360 Nigeria, or download the mobile app on Google Play Store, Huawei App Gallery and Apple Store. On Facebook, we're at TV360 Online. Let's get business news from Victoria Akonde. Over to you, Victoria.
Thank you very much, Joy. Welcome to Business News. Now, central bankers
Regulators and payment system operators across Africa have gathered in Lagos to discuss digital financial inclusion across the continent. At the heart of the discussion is the success of the Nigerian Interbank Settlement Systems Inclusive Instant Payment Platform and how it could be replicated across the continent as a model many say could shape the future of digital financial inclusion. TV360's correspondent Okpayemi Owosheni completes the report.
Hosted by the African Nenda Foundation in partnership with the Nigerian Interbank Settlement System (NIBS), the high-level peer learning visit brought together key players in Africa's financial ecosystem for a rare behind-the-scenes look into Nigeria's real-time payment infrastructure, the NIP system. Built to deliver 24/7, secure, and interoperable transactions, the NIP platform processed over 6 billion transactions in 2023, with a value exceeding 600 trillion naira, making it one of the most active real-time payment systems on the continent. This visit therefore comes at a time when African nations are exploring ways to build more inclusive, homegrown digital infrastructure that reduces reliance on costly foreign platforms and expand financial access, particularly for small businesses and the unbanked. Speaking during the opening address, the CEO African Nenda praised NIBS as a case study in continental leadership, highlighting its progress as an inclusive one.
NIBS is indeed a case study in the continental leadership. We've worked with the NIBS, we've seen their progress, and we believe that even the outcomes in terms of volumes, the billions of volumes that go through NIBS showcases them as an African success story. It connects banks, fintechs, and it operates 24/7 with real-time clearing, high levels of security and fraud management, and it's been designed with an inclusive lens.
Also addressing the gathering, the Deputy Governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria in charge of payment system management underscored the need for cross-border regulatory collaboration.
We have seen examples of successful collaboration within Africa as initiatives like the African Continental Free Trade Area and the Pan-African Payment and Settlement System, PAPS, demonstrate the potential benefit of regulatory cooperation. These platforms not only enable seamless transactions between nations, but also promotes economic integration. I propose the establishment of an Africa Regulators Forum on digital payment and innovation.
Speaking on the journey of NIBS since it was established 32 years ago, NIBS CEO noted that the system was born out of a need to solve Africa's payment challenges with homegrown innovation.
Most African countries don't have credit card. The white man has a credit card whereby people can easily get money to spend. But in Africa, it's either you have cash or you go and borrow from your neighbor or you just get stranded. And we looked at it rather than waiting for cash or putting in checks and waiting for a number of days for clearing. Why can't you just do an instant credit? Just the reversal of an instant debit. As bankers, you know that we always do debit first, but we don't ever do credit first. Credit we do last. But so let's put it on the customer's advantage. Credit first. That simple conversation like that led to this completely homegrown instant payment.
It's also started out with the central bank, and so they issued out a directive sometime, I think it was November 2023, if I recall. And the directive said that the NIN it's mandatory for the use of financial services in the country. And so that has helped a great deal. We're able to harmonize the BVN and the NIN completely. And so anyone that has a bank account has an NIN.
Other delegates at the event said the system is a blueprint for interoperability and scale at a time when real-time payments are becoming essential for business growth and digital transformation.
We are an organization that supports inclusive instant payment system. That is a scale of inclusive instant payment system. So not just developing payment systems for the purpose of facilitating transactions, but most importantly, to accelerate financial inclusion.
We are not here to just talk and share some words and go through our destination. No, we are here to talk, we are here to learn, and we are here to execute visions.
From Nigeria's instant payment success to the push for stronger digital ID systems, This gathering wasn't just about technology, it was about building systems that work for people. And as African regulators and innovators return to their countries, many will carry with them lessons from Nigeria, where collaboration, local solutions, and data-driven design are proving that financial inclusion is not just possible, but already happening. Okpayemi Owosheni, TV360 News, Lagos.
Right now, we would go on a short break and be back with stock market updates. Stay with us. Welcome back. It's the second trading day of the week and the Nigerian equities market continued its downward trend, shedding 0.3% to close with a market capitalization of 72.5 trillion naira. A total of 128 listed equities participated in today's session, with 29 gainers and 35 losers. On the losers chart, Transcorp Power led the decline with a 9.98% drop, closing at 295 naira 70 kobo per share, and it was followed closely by Ohando. Now, market activity remained robust as over 778 million shares were traded across 23,170 deals, amounting to a turnover exceeding 25 billion naira. And when this is compared to Monday's session, that reflects a 9% increase in volume, a 17% boost in turnover, and a 5% rise in the total number of deals. On the global scene, Wall Street opened marginally lower as geopolitical tensions between Israel and Iran entered their fifth day, dampening investor sentiment during a week packed with major central bank decisions. Among attract equities, the UK's FTSE and US Dow Jones closed in the red, while Japan's Nikkei bucked the trend to post the gains in the bullish territory, as you can see on the chart. In the currency market, the US dollar is trading at 1,620 naira on the black market, the British pound at 2,015 naira, and the euro at 1,720 naira. That's it on both business and stock market updates. Back to you, Joy, for the rest of the news.
Victoria, and now on the foreign scene, investigators in India are studying the black boxes of a Boeing 787 Dreamliner after recovering them from the aircraft wreckage to ascertain the cause of last week's plane crash that left at least 270 people dead. The black boxes will provide cockpit conversations and data related to the plane's engine and control settings to investigators and help them in determining the cause of the crash. The London-bound Air India aircraft, a Boeing 787 Dreamliner, crashed on a medical college hostel soon after taking off from the western city of Ahmedabad. And still on the foreign scene, G7 leaders have called for a de-escalation in the Middle East, starting with the Israel-Iran conflict. The leaders of the Club of Industrial Democracies issued their conviction that Iran can never have a nuclear weapon. Since Friday, Israel has struck major nuclear and military sites and killed leading commanders and nuclear scientists in Iran, which has responded with its own volley of drones and missiles on Israel. And finally on sports, chairman of the Nigerian Premier Football League, Gbenga Elegbeye, has revealed that the league body is in search sponsors for the procurement of video assistant referee machines for the Nigerian top flight. Elegbeye made this known while addressing the media during an end-of-season parley in Abuja. He further mentioned that top shots of the NFF are in full support of the installation of a VAR into venues for domestic league matches, while hinting at giant steps both governing bodies have taken so far in that direction. And that's the bulletin on News Now. Many thanks for joining us. I am Joy Ucheji. See you next time.